Welcome to the fifth and final installment of the LHHP mental health Q&A series, Burnout, a subject near and dear to my heart. I am one of your co-pilots, Dr. Dave Stewart, and joining me is the always lovely Dr. Ann Stewart, but I don't know if she's situated just yet. All right, so we have a chat going, and please feel free to type questions into the chat. We don't want anybody to turn on their cameras. We are recording this, and we don't want anyone to turn on their cameras. It's not necessary to just use your audio, or just put actually preferably just put your question into the chat. We haven't done one of these with Zoom in a while, and it's when we get into recording and publishing. Actually, let me change the view, speaker view. Get into recording and rebroadcasting the video, posting the video. It's for privacy issues. We like to keep everybody's video off, please. All right. Anne, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. You can hear me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
So it won't show me because, so let me share my screen because I can see me, but you can't see me. How do I do this? Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties.
It was there a minute ago.
Can you see my screen?
No.
Okay. How about now?
Nope.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? So Zoom has disappeared for me. But I hear you, so I know you exist.
Okay.
All right, let me share my screen and then see if you can see me.
Yep, I see your screen.
Okay. Can you see me?
Cannot see you.
Really?
Really, it's a black square.
Not there, but can you see me on the screen that I'm sharing?
No.
Okay. I don't think there's any way to do it because it shows me on, because I'm currently presenting. And as the presenter, it has the presenter's video showing. So I can see myself. And assuming that I'm sharing my screen, I figure you can see me. But you're saying that you can't. And when I turn on my video is on for Zoom, but I don't think it's allowing it to be on because it's on the presentation.
The PowerPoint presentation mode.
So if I turn that off.
That's because, yeah, you can only use your camera for one program, and PowerPoint, because you're in record mode on PowerPoint, it is probably taking your camera.
Yeah, it won't let me. So my video.
There you go.
I am. Hey, yeah. We did it. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Now I exist. All right. Sorry about that.
All right. So we will get started. Excuse me. The format is similar to previous episodes, where Ann and I are going to do a brief presentation of some of the really important information, and then we'll open it up to questions. So with that, Anne, will you advance the presentation?
Are you sure you want me controlling this?
I think you have to.
I have proven myself unfit.
Yeah. All right. So what is burnout? So burnout is this kind of nebulous term. It can be a nebulous term that people throw around. But actually the World Health Organization and scientific research, actually, or at least psychologic research, there's debate about how scientific that is, but defines actual burnout in 3 dimensions. So it's a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stresses. The 3 dimensions are emotional exhaustion, cynicism, or depersonalization. And both of those lead to reduced personal accomplishment, meaning reduced professional efficacy, personal or professional productivity, and ultimately job satisfaction. And each of those can be blown up into a long list of symptoms and traits that define them and how people manifest those. There are many different kinds of burnout. We're going to focus on workplace burnout. By itself, that's a huge topic to cover. The World Health Organization only defines workplace burnout as an official type of burnout. So if we're using an ICD-10 code for medical billing, we would only be able to apply burnout to the workplace if it's caused by the workplace. But there's in the workplace, the 2 main types of burnout are overload burnout and under challenge burnout. There are actually 5 types of workplace burnout. As you can see, you can get into the weeds on this. But we also want to highlight, even though we're not going to kind of dive deep into these, caregiver burnout, which many of us have experienced, chronic illness or medical burnout. Many of you on this call or watching this in the future are very familiar with this. Parenting burnout, especially if you're parenting a child with special needs or autism, and also marital burnout, which can ultimately lead to divorce. So if you're experiencing any of those, they would manifest as emotional exhaustion, cynicism, or depersonalization. Depersonalization meaning feeling detached from your own feelings or even your own body, feeling numb or disconnected from your physical feelings or emotional feelings. Sometimes, severe depersonalization, you may actually be having like an out-of-body experience. Like, is this really happening to me? It doesn't feel real. And then also the reduced personal accomplishment in whatever area the burnout applies to. So in caregiver burnout, you would feel like you're not making a difference in the person you're taking care of's life. If you're parenting burnout, you would feel like, what's the point? I'm not a good parent. I don't do this well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, next slide.
Move it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting about 1 out of 5 words. Sorry.
Oh,
It might be me.
okay. So there are 5 stages of burnout. This started in the 70s when burnout was defined in 12 stages. By the way, workplace burnout was first defined, the first publications defining workplace burnout were in the mid 70s. And there were 12 stages of burnout then. Somebody kind of figured out that having 12 stages can of burnout can actually burn you out if you're trying to learn all the 12 stages. So they simplified it to 5 stages. And, you can see this kind of funneling down into the final stage, which is called habitual burnout. But the honeymoon phase is really where we get into trouble because we feel so charged up, so enthusiastic and optimistic, almost invulnerable when we start that new job or we start that parenting where we just had that baby. I'm going to turn the situation around. This is going to be great. I'll put in extra hours. I'm going to make a bunch of money, et cetera, et cetera. And that's when the decisions happen that start you down the path deeper into burnout. Eventually, you get to the onset of stress where you start going, you know what? This isn't feeling so good anymore. I'm starting to feel tired. I'm starting to feel like I have ADHD, and I'm really starting to worry about myself. Then you get to the last 3 stages, chronic stress, burnout, and habitual burnout, where you really are starting to suffer. The chronic stress state is kind of the last place that you could turn the ship around and save yourself from truly having burnout. And this is really, these first 3 stages are really where we need our loved ones, friends, family to kind of be, healthy, loving observers and intervene and hopefully stop us from getting to the final 2 stages, which are burnout. And this is where the negative mindset and the depression really starts to kick in. The physical symptoms, especially fatigue and cognitive dysfunction, brain fog, as we call it, can become severe. And then habitual burnout, this is just where you accept that this is just how it is and this is just how it's going to be. And, you just continue to get deeper and deeper and deeper into this. It really is a physical and mental / emotional illness. About 38%, recent studies showed that about 38% of all adult workers report burnout. That was 2022. In 2021, it was only about 22%, and it shot up to 38%, probably having something to do, that increase having something to do with COVID and maybe even a lot of the political and financial stressors that we're all experiencing. But the really concerning thing, and I didn't have time to really look at this historically and see if this trait has been, or this trend has been in place for a long time, but workers 18 to 24 have the highest rate of burnout. They have almost 50% of them report burnout. And I'm not really ready to put that into the bigger context to make some conclusion about the mental health and of our youth and are they really prepared for life and kind of all this old man stuff that I would do to my own kids. But needless to say, that is concerning because life kind of sort of gets harder. You're just starting to get into life at age 18 to 20. Most people are anyway. All right, next slide. Symptoms. I think in our practice, what I see as the primary symptoms are the exhaustion and fatigue and the diminished cognitive function down there at the bottom left. And those are typically the primary symptoms that everyone is aware of as well, not just, they're not just the ones that pique my my ears pop up when I hear that, but it's also what brings the person in. And upon further questioning, you can get all of these other symptoms. You can draw these out of people. Sleep issues. You think you're exhausted, so you're going to sleep better. No, actually, you don't, because your circadian rhythm from the chronic stress and even depression, anxiety, the circadian rhythm disturbances kick in, and you're not sleeping as well, which obviously reinforces the exhaustion and fatigue. No, when they say numbness down at the bottom right, what they mean is emotional numbness, listlessness, apathy, withdrawal. We see people practicing a lot more isolation type behaviors where they're alone with their phone or their laptop more. They're not going to social events. They're not going to church as much. They're not meeting their friends like they used to play golf. But the two biggies that really bring people in looking for a quick fix: help me, I'm tired, it must be my metabolism, help me, I can't pay attention to things, I must have ADHD, please give me Adderall. What they don't realize is that that's a symptom of burnout, and it's a much bigger problem than just speed me up, give me a boost. So if you have these symptoms, and we're a little biased because we only interact with people who have these symptoms at our practice pretty much. But if you see these symptoms in your friends or family, Dr. Ann is going to talk about ways that you can lovingly intervene, and we are always available to help as well. Next slide. All right, here's where Dr. Ann jumps in and takes over. I can hear you. By the way, now I see a picture of you at the bottom right.
So it's saying that my internet is.
Okay. Why don't we pause for a second? I will tell an anecdote. I think you need to go to a different place in the building.
Okay.
Why don't you turn off your video and mute yourself, and I will relay a fascinating anecdote. So I wish I had a picture that I could show everyone of, and you probably all remember this, of me during COVID. When COVID had first hit, Ann and I decided that we didn't want to turn people away. We wanted to treat our patients. We didn't want to just send people to the emergency room and to urgent care for every little fever and everything. And so to do that, because we have we have actually multiple children with epilepsy, and COVID is a neurologic disease as much as anything else. We decided that I needed to live separately. So we built a big plastic bubble in our basement. We divided the basement in half essentially. And I had my own entry exit. I had my own bathroom. They would lower food down to me by a rope on like a TV dinner tray kind of thing. We would meet. We would have meals together sometimes on the balcony, but I couldn't get to the balcony or the deck because there were no steps. I had to use a ladder. Anyway, and I was working a lot of hours. I was also administering vaccinations once they became available. I mean, I was working a ton, and I burned out, and I didn't realize it until later. And whenever you want to jump back in, just let me know, and I can finish the story later.
I'm getting there. Keep chatting.
Okay. So what I started to notice was severe fatigue. I started to become, at first I was very excited and passionate about putting out information and newsletters and just working as much as I could to be available for everyone. And I started to feel like I just couldn't do it anymore. I could not motivate myself to put out this content. It didn't help that the Federal Trade Commission came after us with a threatening letter and some threatening emails if we didn't stop sending out the newsletters, and get everything about COVID off of our website. But I really realized that after things calmed down and after I came out of the basement bubble, I was exhausted. And sometimes that's how it goes. When you get through the crisis, you survive the crisis, you're running on fumes, you're way past your allostatic load. That's another concept in burnout and burnout prevention is, everyone's allostatic load. What are we designed to carry, and what happens when we get overloaded? And it has literally taken me almost 2 years to recover from that. And so I have personal experience, not only treating burnout, but going through burnout. And I think that helps me be a better caregiver for people who are struggling with burnout. All right, I think getting there.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, rock and roll.
You're gonna have to start doing stand-up comedy. All right, so I'm going to talk about treatment for burnout. And if I go in and out, I need to start banging on the wall and I'll find a different place to sit. So fundamentally, burnout is a self-care crisis. It's an alarm bell that is informing you that you require different nurturing strategies moving forward. So the goal is to enhance resiliency. Resiliency is the ability to adapt and maintain equilibrium during periods of stress, challenge, or trauma. Resilience protects against burnout. And resilience ultimately is about balance. So if you're in balance, you are naturally resilient. If you fall out of balance, you quickly become sick, either mentally, physically, spiritually, or a combination of the three. So I'm going to cover two general categories of resilience builders that include thoughts and perspectives, habits and behaviors, and then there are herbs and supplements that we're not going to cover only because each person is different. You've been coming to our practice, so you're aware that we are very focused on individualized care. So we'll start with thoughts and perspectives. So burnout is a very valuable teacher with valuable lessons. One gift of burnout is that it can show you how to better care for yourself in multiple dimensions of life. It also may be that nudge that pushes you in the direction of your true purpose if you've gotten off track. So the ideal goal is, and this isn't just true in our careers, but it's true in every area of our life, the ideal goal is to love what you do and feel invigorated by doing it. So the first thing in terms of our perspective is that it's crucial to have compassion for yourself. Burnout is extremely common, as Dave mentioned, and is very treatable, but it does require self-compassion. So I gave some questions to ask yourself in order to gain some perspective on the burnout. And again, these focus mostly on work burnout, but these questions can help guide whether the situation can be amended in any way. The other thing you can do is utilize rituals to help you separate work from the rest of your life. So one idea is to have a mantra that you can use to remind yourself of what's important. This is just work. It's not my whole life. It's not who I am. You can use your commute as a place of transition. So I saw that some people like to imagine that all of the sticky, yucky work experiences kind of fly off from you as you drive. This picture over here where it says ritual, that's my attempt at flying sticky notes. That may, what does that look like practically? Because typically we don't have sticky notes. It may look like listening to your favorite music and singing along. It may look like screaming along to your favorite music, depending on how your day went. Listening to an audiobook or a podcast that you find engaging, calling your best friend to vent. Another idea is to take a moment before you enter your house to set your intention before you walk in the door. You can consider shifting your energy by changing your clothes. This helps you separate your work energy from your home energy. And those of you that grew up with Mr. Rogers know that he did this very well. You can ask for what you need. So you talking to your employer, or if the situation is burnout with parenting, if it's burnout with caregiving, talking through what your needs are and whether there are any changes that can be made to improve the situation. That's critical. You can set aside time for venting, and the purpose of this is to have a limited pity party so that the negative thoughts don't consume all of your time. And then in terms of habits and behaviors, it's important to set boundaries. This goes back to that previous slide of talking to your employer and explaining your needs, but it also looks like setting boundaries in your personal life that give you some breathing room for self-care. And Dave and I are still working on this. We're really good at talking to people and telling them the importance of doing this, but it is very challenging to put into practice. You can engage in activities that bring you joy. I love doing crossword puzzles and jigsaw puzzles. So, taking 10 minutes to work on a crossword puzzle can kind of reconnect me to myself. Powering down the blue screen. We all use our phone as a tool, but we also use it as an escape. And more studies are showing an association between screen time and increased levels of stress, depression, and anxiety. And you saw the symptoms of burnout have a lot of overlap with symptoms of depression and anxiety. So even just shutting down your phone 30 minutes before bedtime really improves the quality of your sleep, improves working memory, it improves positive emotions during the day, all of which help with resiliency and work satisfaction. Taking care of your physical body, this is kind of our wheelhouse. This is our passion, is where your holistic physician can really help you. Through identifying nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, neurotransmitter abnormalities that may be contributing to negative thoughts and feelings. And all of that helps bring balance. Balance brings resilience. Of course, moving your body, staying hydrated, eating lots of plant food is really important for balancing your body. And then of course, sleep. And if we gave a webinar on the importance of sleep called Light and Dark. And if you haven't watched it, it was very convicting for me as I was giving it and preparing for it. But it'll reinforce the value of sleep. And then finally, ask for help if the burnout is causing any kind of dysfunction in your life. Reach out to a professional to sort out whether burnout is becoming a pathologic depression or anxiety or an obsessive compulsive situation. So those are a couple of resources for you. And then some other ones, these are things that really help strengthen your nervous system, decrease your stress, and fill your cup. Sunshine, we toot this horn quite often, but even 15 minutes a day makes a lot of difference in so many processes in the body. We are very much like plants. We need sunshine and water to not just survive, but to be vibrant. Yoga is a universal healer. It increases glutathione, which is one of our many natural antioxidants, and it helps the body fight stress, as well as infections and inflammation. And it's been proven to boost mood, reduce anxiety, improve sleep, enhance longevity. Meditation is another profoundly useful tool for enhancing resiliency, and a lot of evidence behind it being used for stress and anxiety, depression. You can try an app like Calm, which has meditations as short as 3 minutes long that help lower your cortisol and bring you back into the present moment. And then we have recordings on our website, on our webinar page, recordings of our meditation sessions that you're welcome to watch. The goal for meditation is about 15 to 30 minutes a day, but anything you can do helps. Acupuncture, very important. We have an acupuncturist in the area that we love and send a lot of people to. Ecotherapy is really just getting out in nature, remedy very close to my heart. Also very evidence-based. Time in nature has been shown to reduce stress and enhance your immune function. Actually, it increases your white blood cell count, improves anxiety, elevates mood, reduces inflammation. 1 hour a day is ideal. But if you can only do 3 to 4 hours on a weekend, that also can help. Massage boosts serotonin and dopamine. It reduces cortisol and enhances relaxation. Art, dance, and music, these all have profound healing and restorative benefits. Even if you think you're not creative, making art, making music, or dancing allows the mind and body to relax and release tension. And creative expression helps us feel more connected to ourselves and to others, and it helps us feel inspired. So at the very least, shoot for 1 activity a week, even if it's that singing / screaming along to a song on your way home on the commute, unless you're on the metro. Exercise, I'm sure you've heard us say this a couple of times in the past, but it's so important. Ideally, vigorous exercise 3 times a week, if not more, but even 10 minutes of walking every day has big benefits. And if you don't have any time for any of the above on a certain given day, even just taking time to take some deep breaths really helps reset your mind and your heart. It's like these small moments of self-care. And then lastly is if you have a friend or a family member that you think might be having burnout, these are just some things to think about. The number one thing is to listen and not try to fix it, validating their feelings, their concerns, asking for how you can help specifically. For some people, it's just listening. For some, it's can you bring me a meal? For some, it's can you help me find resources for childcare or house cleaning or errand running. So being able to offer very specific ways to help is a great option. And then this quote, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you, by one of my favorite authors. So that's it. Thank you. Did I go out? Did you lose me for a minute?
No, it went very well. It
Okay, good.
really did well.
I
All
picked
right.
the right spot.
So we're going to open it up to questions. I'm going to stop your share. You can put your questions into the chat. And we had a couple questions come in earlier. And I'll start with one of those. This is a really good question. Can you have burnout even if you are retired and have a happy home life?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. Yes, because you can have burnout if you are, sitting on the beach in Aruba with, the beverage of your choice. Because burnout can actually start with adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. The tone can be set there. The adverse childhood experiences, or even adverse adulthood experiences, rewire the brain. They actually grow certain parts of the brain and shrink certain parts of the brain and modify the interconnected functions of the brain to be kind of hardwired for burnout. Constantly recalling traumatic experiences, constantly reliving them in your mind, actually reliving them in the present moment, because this is what your brain thinks is normal. Your primary relationship or your family relationships in your home may actually be happy and you don't have job stress. But if in your mind you are in a different place than the present moment, you can remain burned out. And this brings up a good point, and Dr. Ann alluded to this, but especially with mindfulness and meditation, which is that if you don't have time to actually go for a walk in nature, imagine yourself going for a walk in nature. Imagine it very, very detailed, and you will actually get some of the benefit from that. You won't get the fresh air and the negative charged ions in the space around the trees and the soil grounding you and that sort of thing. But you will get benefit, because your brain simply can't tell the difference between imagined and real much of the time. So, long answer was all that. The short answer is yes, you can be burned out. Do you want to add anything, Ann?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pandemic really hit home for the entire world, that no matter how much good you have going on in your life, it's possible to hit burnout, even just from worldly events. Perfectly satisfied with family and job and retirement. It is very it's very possible to have burnout. So being aware of the symptoms is really, I think, crucial. And as you start to see that in yourself, waving a white flag to somebody that is close to you or to a professional.
Yeah. All right, I'll take this question. Do you have any advice if you have a really hard time setting and keeping boundaries? Well, if you do have that advice, I would like to hear it, because I need to hear that advice myself. Well, here's the answer that makes total sense, right, when you hear it, but putting it into play is hard. If there's anything in your life that you have a really hard time doing, ask other people to help you. There's a saying in certain communities, find someone who has what you want and ask how they got it. So if you see someone who's good at setting boundaries, say, hey, how do you do that? And can you help me do that? Just like a financial advisor. These are places where life coaches can really come in to play and help you sort out decisions before you commit, or a mentor, or a really close friend. But in terms of rewiring your brain to be able to set and keep boundaries, that's very difficult to do alone. You really have to get outside of yourself and get feedback to really relearn.
I'll say one other thing, because I'm horrible about setting boundaries. And, I grew up wanting to be a good girl. And the way to be a good girl is to never set boundaries for yourself. And so I am relearning what it looks like to honor my own needs and my own limits. And it's been challenging, but paying attention to things that I think about myself and how I put myself last, and really, I for full disclosure, I'm actually in therapy about it because it's been such a challenge for me. So that's one of the ways that therapy can be so helpful, is especially cognitive behavioral, is just sort of helping to rewire these tapes that I think are so ingrained in us as children, to no fault to our parents necessarily, but just the age that we grew up in, or things that were modeled for us, or so it's a great question, and I don't have an excellent answer, but I do think therapy is very helpful.
Totally agree. And I would like to say it's totally our parents' fault.
I'll say one other thing that has
It
helped
always
me.
is.
One other thing that specific on this journey of figuring out how to set boundaries is I have gotten into a women's group. It's a very small women's group. Specifically, it's mothers of special needs kids women's group. And there are 5 of us that meet once a week. And we're all working on that. And that also helps to talk through it with other people who are trying to do the same thing. Because we learn from each other. We learn from our mistakes and we learn from our successes. And so that too has been a powerful influence for me.
Yeah. Also remember that there are ways to set and keep boundaries that are unhealthy. If you set and keep boundaries with anger, if you set and keep boundaries with passive aggression and kind of punishing people for them setting boundaries. I mean, so this is where therapy and coaching can really be helpful. All right, let me go back to a question we received earlier. Can continual anxiety give you burnout? And why don't you kick us off with that one?
Yes, it can.
All right, next question. No, so I struggle with anxiety, and I struggle with depression, and I'm in therapy for both. And I've been through periods of time where my anxiety has been severe, and I've treated people with severe, relentless anxiety, and it absolutely can cause burnout. It can also be the result of burnout. And when you have both, when you have pre-existing anxiety combined with burnout, it can just ratchet up the intensity. But simply having continuous anxiety is a form of stress. So again, you could be on the beach in Aruba in a completely safe place. But if you are having anxiety, neurotransmitter imbalances that are causing you to ruminate and have excessive worry about the future, or about regret about the past, then you will eventually burn out, because that's a stress. It's constant stress that's not being managed properly. So yes. How do you rewire the brain? Is brain core / neurofeedback an option? So yes, in the
Great question.
2023, I was about to say, now that we're in the 21st century, we've been in the 21st century for 20 plus years. It's not 2000 anymore. But here in the 21st century, yes, we know that you can rewire the brain, and they're actually handheld technologies now, laptop-based, phone-based technologies. One of them is neurofeedback. So there are several options. One is limbic system retraining, which is neurofeedback is an option for that. There's DNRS and brain mapping, and then there's vagal, sort of vagal strengthening, or vagal retoning or reprogramming, which is a bit different, but still in that same vein of parasympathetic nervous system enhancement, sympathetic nervous system modulation. Neurofeedback is, for those of you who don't know, it is where you have sensors placed on your scalp, and those sensors are able to read brainwave activity for different regions of the brain, and a computer interprets those, and you can actually be taught through feedback on a screen. It's either a video game or some kind of puzzle where you have to put a piece of the puzzle into place or something using your brain, and you can actually be taught to have better control over your prefrontal cortex or your amygdala or your temporal lobe, and they can be very effective. The thing about these options is, number one, it takes a while for them to really work. Neuroplasticity, it takes a while. You have to be persistent. It's like learning anything new. And number two, expense. They can become quite expensive because insurance doesn't usually cover them. But they are very, very effective. But the cheapest one is meditation and mindfulness. That is a brain reprogramming or rewiring practice. Cognitive behavioral therapy and other types of psychotherapy are brain rewiring practices. That, thank God there's so many options, because not all of these work for people as well for everyone. So for some people, psychotherapy is actually traumatic and harmful, and they need neurofeedback to tamp down the fight or flight response to experiencing their stress. Get that tamped down. Later, you can go into psychotherapy. So great question. Anne, do you want to add anything?
No, that's great.
I talk a lot. All right. Thank you, Doctors Dave and Ann. Can you measure your baseline allostatic load? And can you monitor it to see when it is going up, or if it is gone up?
That's a really good question. So allostatic load is the cumulative effect that chronic stress has on your health, your mental and physical health. So it's the wear and tear on the body that life events, stressors can create. And when the events that occur exceed the individual's capacity to cope, the allostatic overload occurs. And there are lots of ways to measure this. There are your adrenal hormones are a great measure. Your cardiac markers are a great measure. So cholesterol, the cholesterol breakdown products, LDL, the lipoprotein A, ferritin, the C-reactive protein has just been added to the list of things that people can look at to monitor allostatic load. Hemoglobin A1C is a good marker. And then there are immune markers. So there's endocrine, that's your hormones, there's cardiac, and there are and other cardiac and other metabolic markers. And then there are immune markers that also are good measurements. So yes, the answer is you can measure it and monitor it to see if it's getting worse or better. And a lot of that we do anyway, in our just general assessments.
Yeah, awesome answer. I would also add heart rate variability is a way to measure allostatic load, where you stand with the burden that you're carrying.
Yeah.
So a lot of us, wear these watches and have apps that'll tell us where we are with our sympathetic nervous system, our limbic system, our fight, flight, or freeze system. So a low heart rate variability is a sign that your body the allostatic load is very heavy. And you can immediately intervene with deep breathing or mindfulness or ecotherapy, taking off your shoes and socks, walking around on the grass. I mean, you can actually watch your HRV come up in real time. And so don't forget about that as well.
Another one is waist to hip ratio. In the past, BMI has been used. I think that's starting to get phased out, but cortisol, our stress hormones cause us to put more weight on around the waist. And so that also can be a marker of allostatic load.
Anything else? Dr. Ann is triple awesome. Totally agree. Any other questions?
Somebody's going to ask about HRV. Great.
Yeah.
Smart.
Well, in closing,
this is the end of our mental health series.
It is. And I hope these have all been helpful in some ways to some people. We look forward to kicking off our next series as soon as we recover from the burnout of putting on this series. Just kidding. We're not really sure what that is yet. We have some ideas though. And if you guys have ideas, feel free to email them in. What do you want to see and hear and learn about? But specifically for this, burnout is extremely common. Don't forget, it's not just workplace burnout. Okay. I know people who are here who are caregivers, who've been through trauma, who themselves are chronically ill, and just muscling up the energy to take those supplements and to go to that doctor's appointment and explain again what your illness is, and so we understand as doctors and as people, because we have a lot of those burdens ourselves and have been through them. So we're here to help. Please know that, and we're very grateful that you all attended tonight. Thanks for great questions.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.